four men in dark formal suits stand out in the open street, and every one of them reaches for his gun in the exact same instant. There's no cover and barely any space between them, close enough that the smallest twitch of a finger will set off a slaughter this town has never seen. It comes down to one thing now: whose aim is truer and whose nerve holds the longest. This is the showdown that's been building since these outsiders rode in. And the moment the guns clear leather, the brutal duel turns one-sided fast. The bandits start dropping one after another, and Ike, the very man who lit the fuse on this whole war, is the first to lose his nerve. He'd heard plenty about these gunmen who'd just rolled into Tombstone, but he never saw this coming. The Earps come out swinging with overwhelming force. Ike tries to play dead, but they won't let up. And when one of their own takes a hit, they only pour the fire on harder, until another bandit is gunned down, and Ike scrambles into a wooden shack just to keep breathing. Against firepower like that, he has nothing left to fight back with, so he shoots and backs away until he finally bolts. And once the last bandit falls, the duel is over, marking the biggest blow this town has ever landed on its local outlaws. And it's worth remembering what these men were up against. Not long before, the gang once led by Johnny Ringo had carried out a massacre in a nearby town, gunning down a groom, a bride, and several lawmen right where they stood, and not even the priest was spared. That kind of violence locked in their grip on the whole region, and here in a town called Tombstone, the people are seething, but far too scared to say a single word. A town that frightened usually stays frightened, which is exactly why 4 retired lawmen deciding to push back is either the bravest thing Tombstone has seen in years or the most reckless. This time, the 4 gunmen led by Wyatt push back hard, though whether they can finally crush the outlaws' arrogance is anyone's guess. The day after the shootout, the Cowboys make their move, strolling deliberately down the street and right past where Wyatt and his men are gathered. The provocation couldn't be more obvious. But the second one of them actually reaches to act, his own buddies drag him back, and that tells you everything. After that gunfight, they've genuinely toned things down. Because when Wyatt and his fellow retired lawmen first arrived, the moment the outlaws heard his name, they quietly started watching their step. As the former sheriff of a once famous town, there wasn't a gang that didn't tremble at Wyatt's name. But he's retired now, and with Johnny Ringo desperate to plant his own flag in Tombstone, Ringo feels he has to put on a show every chance he gets. So when they cross paths at the card table, Ringo opens with a flashy little stunt, spinning his Colt fast through his fingers, switching it around again and again before whipping it back into the holster. Doc, sitting right beside Wyatt, isn't about to let that slide, so he grabs a silver cup and twirls it like a revolver, pulling off moves even fancier, which doesn't just raise the bar, it quietly makes a fool out of Ringo. If that first run-in didn't carry much real tension, with both sides keeping their cool, that balance shatters the moment Curly Bill, the gang's second in command, goes on a drunken rampage in the street, and when the old marshal steps in to stop him, he's dropped with a single shot. As former lawman, Wyatt and his brothers can't just stand by and let that slide, so they arrest Curly Bill on the spot and turn their guns on the men closing in. Every man at Wyatt's side is a first-rate lawman, and that show of force leaves the gang too rattled to try anything. But the bad blood is now set in stone, and as the danger mounts, one of the brothers volunteers to pin on a badge, dragging the whole standoff into a tense, no-win corner. Wyatt never meant to stay long. All he'd wanted was to make an honest living far from the killing. But his blood brothers are already tangled up in it, so the choice is no longer his. And that's exactly what leads back to the scene we opened on, the fight that finally drags Tombstone all the way into the bloodshed. Amid the carnage, Ringo's gang wastes no time setting their revenge in motion. First, Virgil's arm is shot to pieces, then Morgan is ambushed, his wounds so severe he doesn't make it, and Wyatt is plunged into a grief like he's never known. After weighing their options, they have no choice but to leave Tombstone behind. And on the day they go, Ringo and his men make a point of standing by to gloat them off, arrogance on full display.
What they don't realize is that Wyatt has already drawn his line, and he wants them to know it's over. After one open gunfight and one hidden ambush, both sides have taken their losses. And if it had stopped there, maybe none of this would have spiraled past saving. But Ringo's men have no intention of letting Wyatt walk. The moment he loads the wounded Virgil onto the train, the gang shows up again, never realizing he's been ready for them the whole time. The hunter becomes the hunted. Wyatt guns down several of the would-be ambushers where they stand, grabs Ike once more as he begs for his life, and instead of killing him, sends him running back to spread the word that a brand new war is about to begin. This time, it isn't just Doc.
The Harden brothers, who once rode shoulder to shoulder with Wyatt, have heard the news and come running, and the whole crew sets out for Tombstone again. In the town whose very name means death, Wyatt is set on making them pay in blood, and in one sweeping strike, they cut down a string of low-level goons. When he comes face to face with Curly Bill, he doesn't hesitate, blasting him clear into the river. That leaves the real ringleader, Johnny Ringo, who demands Wyatt meet him at a chosen spot for an old-fashioned cowboy duel. But Doc catches wind of it first and steps in to take Wyatt's place, and already terminally ill, he decides to spend what little life he has left on his friend's fight. These two deadly rivals, who once squared off across a card table, now know only one of them is walking away, and with barely a few feet between them, it all comes down to whose hand is faster.
Doc's draw is the quicker one, and Ringo's flashy showboating fails him at the single moment that counts. He tries to summon one last burst of will to fire back, but the bullet already lodged in his skull won't let him lift a finger. With the score finally settled, Tombstone eases back toward peace, though Doc's own life is now ticking down, lending a quiet sorrow to this hard-won vengeance. It's a fitting end, really. Ringo spent the whole film treating his pistol like a circus prop, and in the one moment it actually mattered, all that spinning and flourishing bought him exactly nothing. Turns out, the man who twirled a drinking cup just to mock him was the better shot the entire time. But for Wyatt, riding off at last with the woman he loves, a whole new life is only just beginning. Doc Holliday could have spent his final weeks dying quietly in a bed of his own choosing, and instead, he spent them standing in a gunfight that was never his, for a friend who'd never have asked it of him. Wyatt rode into Tombstone trying to escape the killing, and rode out having outkilled every man who came to bury him. The West never rewarded the one who wanted peace. It just made certain the man willing to pay in blood was the last one left standing.